Well, it's not that I don't feel it's appropriate. I think it is appropriate to talk about certain things. But, I think, first of all, Simone Biles, I think her situation is totally different from most other people because, she's been through a lot. She's been, abused. She's been through all that kind of thing. So her situation is different. But if we're looking on everyday sports people, sometimes we can't be confused with our mental capacity and everything else with the general public. It's totally different. We are what we call gladiators. And so therefore mental games is what we play. And one of my biggest examples, I always say to people, I was never the fastest. I just made everyone else believe I was. And so this is the first, sort of thing that goes on. We play mind games with each other because we want to win. And we're all talented. We all train very hard. Because there's no secret in training. So how are you going to beat the next person? You have to get into their minds. And if you can't take that kind of pressure, then, maybe, professional sport is not for you.
That's such an interesting point. Well, let me bring in Owen. That's not what I expected to hear.
No, and Linford Christie, obviously childhood hero like everybody else's. But look, the biggest killer of men in Britain under 45 is suicide. And one of the reasons for that is the stigma attached, because men are less likely to suffer mental distress than women, but less likely to seek help when they do. And that's because it's seen to talk about mental health issues as unmanly, man up culture, and weak. And seeing male athletes for whom, physical prowess and they're associated with, I suppose, traditional forms of being a man, talking about their own struggles encourages other men to speak openly as well. The problem in this country isn't people speaking too honestly about mental health issues, by the way, which affect 1 in 4 people at some point in their life. It includes anxiety, which can be a chronic and destabilizing condition, as well as depression. And the problem we've got is people aren't getting the support. The support isn't needed. I interviewed men who tried to kill themselves, and I thought it was really fascinating because they all spoke to me about how doctors sometimes would say man up, about how even when they had suicidal ideations, they weren't believed, and how they were stuck in waiting lists for months before they got help.
This is different.
No, but it isn't different because seeing heroes, seeing national heroes speak about it encourages other men to do the same thing.
If it does.
Can I just ask Linford something? Linford, you say Simone Biles' case is different because she suffered sexual abuse, and we all know what that is. It was at the hands of her athletic coach, who was now serving
Larry
life.
Nassar, what a disgusting man.
He's now serving life imprisonment, 300 years, I think he got, for abusing hundreds of women. That case was in 2018. But, I would have thought if she was suffering kind of trauma from that she would have some kind of therapist. And surely if she has a therapist, he would say to her, or she would say to her, don't put yourself in a high-pressure environment like the Olympics because it will be bad for you. But she came anyway, and I think what a lot of America's reacting to, she came not just as a competitor, but as a team captain. She took a place at Tokyo, and she pulled out of that team. And I don't know whether you saw the film of the team. I did. They were gutted when she said she wasn't going to take part. Now, she told her team, we've done the training, we've done everything, go and kick some butt. And I think a lot of people in America are asking why she didn't do the same thing.
Linford.
For me, I totally agree with you, but for what, you don't, when you've been abused and everything else, that you don't know when it's going to strike. But again, like I said, it's different, and we are athletes. Yeah. We are gladiators. And we don't confuse it, like I said before, with how the normal person feels. We are not normal. We are not normal.
Linford, I feel bad.
I've been on the track.
It's so interesting.
I feel bad disagreeing, I suppose, with the childhood hero on this. But the point I'd make is, what's so important about this is it shows men that whoever you are, because mental health can affect anyone, you're being celebrated for your physical prowess, not because of your however mental prowess is defined. And I think by showing sports people at the top of their game are able to talk about these feelings, that encourages everyone to feel the same.
Well,
and the problem, just quickly, the problem.
It might might not.
sorry.
It might
I just need to
actually.
come
No.
back in on this.
My
If
just
you've got very,
I just need to come
very,
back in on
very
it.
serious clinical depression and you end up in hospital,
Yeah.
you might not believe somebody
No.
who's managing to compete in the Olympics has anything like the same level.
That my worry is when people say that actually they shouldn't be talking about their feelings, everybody can hear that, including men or women on the street, who then think that they shouldn't speak about it.
I'm going to go to
And
calls. I know
this shows
Linford
that
wants
everyone's
to come back in.
affected.
Hang on, Linford, come back in and I'll go to calls.
I mean, I can give you so many different examples. I mean, if you look at a junior athlete and a senior athlete, being a junior athlete, you walk around and everybody is happy and smiley. When you get to become a senior, where it's now your bread and butter, you're not walking around smiley, because this is serious. It's focused, pressure. There's a certain amount of pressure that's put on an athlete. And you have to deal with it. And the person who can deal with it and come out on top, they're the person that's going to win. You can't expect, to have all aspects of what it takes to be a top athlete. This is why, you have some athletes who are club level athletes, and you have some athletes who are successful at the Olympics or whatever it is, because it's in your mind. We get in the call room and all the people you're competing against, everybody is playing mind games. If you can't deal with that kind of pressure, you're not going to make it. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do sport and everything. Do the
Such
sport,
a fascinating.
play sport.
Okay, Linford,
when you
hang
get
on.
to top level athletics or top level sport, it's a lot of it is mental, and you have to
Okay.
I think we're
all right. No,
confusing
wait.
people with
Oren,
depression.
sorry, we must go to calls. Sorry, Storm.